Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back. We want to thank everybody that's supporting us over at Patreon.
Huge thank yous. Huge thank yous.
What a matter, or what's a matter? That's our newest Patreon.
We like that. That's fun. That's, rolls off the tongue. What's the matter?
What's the matter? Thank you very much. Couldn't do it without you guys' support. Exclusive videos every week. And I gotta share this. This is, as you can see, Jay Anderson saying, wait, what? Tucker Carlson believes he was attacked by a demon a year and a half ago.
Do you think the presence of evil is kickstarting people to wonder about the good?
That's what happened to me.
That's what happened to you?
Oh, yeah. I had a direct experience with it.
In the milieu of journalism or just...
No, in my bed at night, and I got attacked while I was asleep with my wife and 4 dogs in the bed and mauled. Physically mauled.
In a spiritual attack by a demon?
Yeah, by a demon. Or by something unseen that left...
Is that right?
Claw marks on my sides, on my...
So it left physical marks?
Oh, they're still there. Yeah. A year and a half ago.
Was your wife terrified? I know you were.
I wasn't. I was totally confused. I woke up and couldn't breathe, and I thought I was going to suffocate, and I walked around outside, and then I walked in, and my wife and dogs had not woken up, and they're very light sleepers. And then I had these terrible pains on my rib cage and on my shoulder, and I was just in my boxer shorts, and I went and flipped on the light in the bathroom, and I had 4 claw marks on either side underneath my arms and on my left shoulder, and they're bleeding.
Wait, they were bleeding?
They're bleeding, yeah. No, actual claw marks. And I sleep on my side, so I wasn't clawing myself. I don't have long nails. And they didn't fit my hands anyway. But yeah, that happened. So I'm not from a world where things like that happen. I never heard of anything like that happening before. I had no idea what that was. I knew it was spiritual immediately.
You did? Okay, that was going to be my question.
Yeah. I don't understand to this day. I'm not going to put it
You didn't try to refute the spiritual part in your own mind. You went right into the...
Well, it didn't make any sense, and it doesn't now. But I'm not from a, what do they call it, faith tradition that talks about things like that or even acknowledges their existence. Like, there's nothing like that. I've never heard anybody say anything like that in my whole life.
What was the next day like?
Well, the next morning I woke up and I thought, that was the weirdest dream I've ever had. And then I saw blood on my sheets, and I realized that was not a dream at all. I called my assistant, who was like the only evangelical Christian I know, well enough to call with something bizarre like that, totally bizarre like that. And she said, oh yeah, no, that happens. Yeah, people are attacked in their bed by demons. What? What are you even talking about? Yeah. So, I'm not leaving anything out, and I'm not pretending to understand that. I can only say what happened to me, and that did happen to me, and then I was seized with this very intense desire to read the Bible, which I then started without any study aids or anything. I bought a Bible that didn't have any. I'm not interested in editorializing in the Bible. I just want to read it and see what's in there myself. I have very low levels of trust for Christian pastors, most of whom, I'm just not a fan at all. And sorry to say that, but that's how I feel. And so I don't want to hear other people's opinions. I just want to see what's in there. So I spent a year and a half reading it, and then I started rereading it, and it was just a transformative experience for me. But I'm not, holding myself out as someone from whom you could get theological advice, because I'm
sure,
not.
Of course.
I don't know. I don't understand any of it. But yeah, that happened.
God allowed the demon?
I have no idea what happened. All I know is I was dead asleep with my wife and dogs, and I woke up with claw marks on my rib cage underneath my arms. And it didn't even make sense. My arms would... Anyway, whatever. No one has to believe me. I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
But that happened to me. And so I just was like, wow, that's real. Whatever that is, I'm not sure what it is.
It's very real. And so then that presence of that evil launches something.
Yeah, there you go. Tucker's demonic experience.
Indeed. And, once again, let's sell the Bible.
Yeah, does it not feel like a commercial? It certainly felt like an infomercial to me. And here you go. There's so much to rejoice in Russell Brand's trajectory towards the church. Pray that his journey is not in vain, as the devil seeks to activate agents to waylay him. Excuse me, guys. Using social causes and figures who entertain social justice and elements of pagan mysticism. Oh, again, do you think it's any coincidence that Russell Brand, who again has notoriety with hundreds of millions of people, he's very well known, Tucker Carlson, same thing, that they're turning back to the church and even back to Catholicism in so many ways, but certainly Christianity. And, it should not be surprising. It really, really should not be surprising. As, again, this is always sales and predictive programming. We are living a script. And only a few really know this script. And, they hit they hit on it the whole time. You have disclosure ongoing. And disclosure will be forced by non-human entities one way or another. So they know they have to disclose. They're doing everything they can to hold on to power as long as possible. And yet, when you look at it, the best hope for those in the U.S. seems to be over towards the right, obviously, because the left is just doing everything it can to appear to be just blowing everything up, which they are doing. But again, order out of chaos. Order out of chaos. And of course, this doesn't mean that there are no demons. We know that there are demons, and Cindy and I, we battle them every day for others. This is just part of what we do. And it's interesting too, this kept popping up in my head for days. Lamia, the night haunting demon in Greek mythology. Now, Greek mythology, Greco-Roman mythology, is what I would call the systems mythology in so many ways. Because what you're looking at is, again, that system that comes out of the control, the dark Anunnakian, Egyptian, Draconian control system itself. And in Greek mythology, Lamia was a horrific monster or daemon. Daimon, notice the word there. Daimon was the original word that demon comes from. And yet demonic, in most people's minds, tends to be something that is dark, malevolent, and just vile and nasty and nothing good about it. Now, the original term daemon simply meant a nature spirit. And even if you look to daemon, and I'm not sure what we'll get on Brave. Brave's a lousy browser, honestly. But they're all pretty much lousy browsers when you get down to it, because it's all the system. When you look to daemon, a lesser deity between men and gods, one's inner spirit or daemon, or a demon, you could see, a nature spirit that could be beneficial was one translation that I used to find. And again, the translations themselves over the course of my heading towards 60 years have changed. I've seen them change. I've watched them change. I've watched words' meanings be rewritten over the decades, and I'm sure many of you have as well. So one's own inner spirit, that's not something that's, should be scary. And a lesser deity between men and the gods. Again, the Davic kingdom. But yes, it's gotten so dark and purposely obfuscated so that everything, all the lines are twisted and distorted. And when you listen to Tucker talking and saying, well, I don't know anything, and talking about, I grabbed the Bible and I went and read it. Again, it really shouldn't take long to get through the Bible. It's not that big of a book. It really isn't in the bigger scheme of things. War and Peace is far longer. So many of the classics coming, again, from the Greeks are longer than this. They're much longer than the Bible. And if you really want a deep dive, there are many places that you can find a lot of wisdom that will clearly state things and not give you the control system narrative. But why not read it really to understand what's in it? Because it's not a big mystery, and again, Tucker's saying he can't understand things. Oh, I don't know. It's spiritual. It's spiritual. What does that mean to you? Again, we need to define things, because as we look to Daimon and we see that reference to Daimon, it could mean your own inner spirit or some sort of lesser deity between men and gods. Now, or between, let's say, humanity and the devas, if we look to that term, deva, and devas in the Hindu mythology are simply beings like us that have had lifetimes many fold compared to what we've had. They're older souls that have gone through a lot more than what we have gone through at this point. However, given more time, more incarnations, more experiences, we could become like them. And in fact, that is kind of our destiny in so many ways. Everything is confused on purpose. So when you look to the mythology, recognize again the victors control the story, and they rewrite things to their benefit with their narrative that they want to get across. So Lamia was a horrific monster or daemon who killed every child she could get her hands on. Well, again, we could look to the Bible and, that killing of every firstborn, which is something that seems like the God of the Old Testament did when he was angry. The ancient Greeks were terrified of her and would make their children wear talismans and amulets so they could be protected from the child-devouring demon. She wasn't always a monstrous creature, though. In fact, she was once a woman so beautiful that Zeus, the king of the gods, right, himself fell in love with her. Let's explore her tragic story. So, according to the myth, she was originally a Libyan queen, known for her grace and stunning beauty. The daughter of Poseidon, so the god of the sea. However, according to other accounts, her father was King Belus of Libya. Nobody knows exactly who Lamia's mother was. Although her parentage was possibly divine, she was a mortal woman. So again, we have to translate and recognize every time we're talking about beings like Poseidon or Zeus or divine. All that means is that they're, again, beings with more technology that come down from a more advanced civilization. In some accounts, she had two siblings, twin brothers, Egyptus and Dennis, and one became the king of Arabia, was married possibly to the Naiad Urero, and became the father of 50 sons. Danaus took over the throne of Libya after his father Belus, but he later became the king of Argos. He too had several daughters who were collectively known as the Danaids or Danaids. Now this is interesting because this sounds very similar to the Irish Celtic god, goddess, I should say, in which we know of from the Tuatha De Danann. And when we look to the Tuatha De Danann and those of the tribe of the goddess Dana, there's also a Vedic correspondence there, exact same spelling. It's the exact same sort of energy. Again, we're talking about different groups of extraterrestrials that were here on the planet, commingling with humans that had less technology, and there was an interbreeding going on. So again, a lot of our mythos, what we tend to do is to deify certain beings that had more technology. But in reality, again, this is all just remembrances of interaction between different groups of extraterrestrials and terrestrials. So she had several children. Lamia herself had several children by Zeus, Poseidon, and Apollo. But most of her children were either doomed to die or cursed for all eternity. Again, the system takes what it can use and utilizes it to its benefit. And then just think about what we see today. where you have people called terrorists, but yet to their own people they're freedom fighters because they're fighting against the system, but the system labels them terrorists. The system will label them demons when in fact, these were people that were simply fighting for their tribe, their family, against the system that came in. So again, it's very, very twisted, in which this one person that was real, very real, gets turned into a being that's demonic. And Hera is she's quite a work there. Piece of work. The most popular version of Lamia's story tells of how Zeus, god of thunder, saw how beautiful she was and fell in love with her, regardless of the fact that he had already had a wife. Oh yeah. Well, he was very, very promiscuous, to say the least. He had an affair with Lamia, and together the duo had several children. Most of the children were killed by Hera in their infancy. 3 survive into adulthood, and this gives them their names. And again, it's this mythology that we have. And what do you see? Controlling lineages. It's always controlling lineages and not allowing humans to have DNA that is turned on to where they are no longer controllable. So then they transform Lamia into a demon, which ends up looking like various things. This right here is 17th century depiction. If you go back and you see some earlier ones, she looks just like a Naga. She's got basically a human waist up torso and a snake waist down torso. And this legend of Lamia quickly became a way for mothers and nannies to frighten little kids to good behavior. So very much like a boogeyman. Watch out, she'll come and get you in the middle of the night with her claws. And so also a symbol for jealousy, seduction, and destruction. Appears attractive on the outside, but is in fact destructive. Half woman, half snake. Well, that is exactly what we are looking at when we look at depictions again of the Nagas. Now it's interesting though, because in the Hindu tradition, Nagas weren't really demonized. They were something to be cautious with, but they were also beings that had a lot of wisdom. In fact, when we talk about Zeus, he was having kids with everybody all over the place. Zeus would fit right in with the P. Diddy crowd. Let's just say that. And it's the same thing with these other Greek, Greco-Roman gods, which in fact are, again, depictions of the Sumerian gods.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just really curious how the feminine always gets portrayed as something evil and horrible and eats children, and you have this same story going on and on and on all throughout history of making the divine feminine out to be some type of monster, some total and complete monster, and that should really tell people something.
It's always that way, and that's what the system has always done. So what we're looking at with Tucker, from the energy I get, is exactly that deception. They want to hang on to power as long as they can. Are there demonic entities that will attack you in your sleep? Absolutely. There certainly is. We've seen that, and we've talked to many people that have had that happen. And in fact, I've seen cuts appear on Cindy in the middle of the night, just with nothing visible that was seen attacking her. So she has been cut to the point of bleeding by these dark entities. This was previously, this is going back years now, but the key is really, again, the mantras. The key is keeping your spiritual practice first and foremost. And you'll have people that are so convinced. Why are they so convinced? Because the authorities told them that there's only one way you can send these things away, and it's through the power of the blood of Christ, and again, No, we do that all the time without utilizing that, and we have thousands of times, because every day we clear energy. Every single day, we intentionally push out these type of demonic, truly demonic beings, which again have nothing to do with the dogma that you're given by the control system. So here you can see a depiction of her clearly as a Naga energy. But what you have to realize is, when you again look at the system, it labels freedom fighters terrorists, and terrorists, God. Yeah, absolutely. When you look also, if you look a little closer, you'll see golems, tulpas, and egregores. Oh my, there's different thought forms, and some dark beings are literally thought forms created literally by the control system. This is what they do. The legend of the golem is one that comes from the Jewish tradition. And again, it's the originating story. The whole concept, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, comes from the golem legend. And again, creating a being, using a clay vessel and sending life force intentionally in. We are creative beings. We have the potential to literally create other beings. And I don't mean by copulation and insemination. No, with your thoughts you can, and you do. People create their own demons every single day. Why do they want people always on FARMA? Because it alters your psyche, and it keeps you in a low level vibration, where there within you will be literally creating your own demons every day. There's an energy around people that are on certain substances, and you could see a cloud of darkness that follow those that are attached to certain drugs, legal or not legal. And literally, it's a cloud of demons that do follow them. And I'm not talking about the positive, benevolent inner Daimon, that inner creative spark within you. Has to do with your Kundalini energy, or any sort of truly angelic being, which there are angelic beings around you all the time. They're always helping you. And yet there are these thought forms that are created by sometimes us unknowingly, and this is actually very, very common, to create these thought forms unknowingly, that you're actually doing it. And then there are thought forms like Baphomet that literally are created intentionally by the system to be a source of energy, like an energy reserve that people will give energy to unknowingly or knowingly.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really so very important to keep in mind the food that you put in your body, what you put in your body, needs to be whole food, non-GMO food. That is so critical, because you can get a lot of these chemicals in your body that they call food, and that can alter the information that surrounds you, which can alter what comes into you, and it can alter the way you think, feel, and express yourself. That's really, to me, that's underestimated. People don't understand what they are really doing when they eat a lot of really bad food. They're creating this energy source that calls in other energies that aren't so good.
Absolutely. So in the magical circles, the real magical circles, people talk about things like golems, servitors, tulpas, egregores, and puppets. And it's the reality is we are always creating our own worlds. Absolutely. And our worlds are interacting with others' worlds. So we have to be very, very cautious about this and recognize that interaction. And, again, there are so many different forms of beings out there, real and what is thought to be imaginary, but is very, very real. Again, when you talk about spiritual, and Tucker saying, oh, okay, this was spiritual. Again, you're not really defining anything. All it's saying is this is something that's out of the normal. This is something that they don't want you clearly understanding. But it's just other dimensional. That's all there is. I mean, when you're talking about spiritual, what are you really talking about? It's other dimensional. It has the capability of being in a realm that's unseen to us. But again, that doesn't mean that it really is, again, necessarily purely evil, purely good. It doesn't mean it's something that even has a soul, because it could very well be a form of attack by dark entities intentionally. When you look to King Solomon, who is said to be the son of King David, if you caught the videos we did on that, again, this is revisionist history. And Solomon is so literally also symbolizes yin and yang, sun and moon. But what we got that Solomon is based on is another extraterrestrial that came here and was kind of using his advanced knowledge to be a lot like Zeus. He was kind of a WHORE, if you know what we mean. And absolutely appeared to be an amazing magician. And he oohed and awed the humans that didn't understand how he could do all these things. And you have a whole grimoire attributed to him. Actually, there's a lot attributed to him. The Goetia, when we talk about these Goetic demons and stuff, why would anybody that is really of the light want to call on anything dark like that? There's no reason to ever call on anything dark like that. And if people are trying to, rationalize it, you're only trying to deceive yourself. And this does, again, come out of the tradition that's in power at this point in time and has been in power here. Now, what they do in dark circles is very different than what they put on as a show out in public, and many people are catching on to that now. So this is all about power and maintaining power. Again, Aleister Crowley, for instance, he was seduced by really a gray when you get down to it, and deceived by the draconian system. And, he was played for that, and it did cause negative karma backlash. He went down the route of mind-altering substances, again, to the extent of losing focus for his life by the purposes of the higher self, by being seduced by the dark side. And absolutely, again, in these different tombs, these books, so to speak, of really what is, again, part of the system. This is part of the system when you look to the Kabbalah, when you look to Hebrew mysticism and the Western mystic tradition. There's a lot that is not talked about out in the open, certainly not in any sort of fundamentalist evangelical circles getting into details about this. But yeah, it is absolutely under the control of demonic entities. And the Goetia, the term Goetia refers to the evocation of demons or evil spirits. Why in the world would anybody ever do that? Boggles the mind. Oh, they're going to work for me. Yeah, that's the ego going again. It's never a good idea to even, you want to distance yourself as much as possible from this. And yet, when you look to it, so many that are, again, in positions in the Vatican do this all the time. They do it all the time. And yet, they burned people for being witches that literally knew how to communicate to their inner daemon. Big difference there.
Huge difference. And, what about the people that convinced other people that it was okay to burn anyone? And do you realize that that was a ritual in and of itself, and there were entities standing back watching those rituals? So it's like they created a way to have rituals out in the open and then sit back and feed off of this energy while other humans did this to other humans. I mean, the pain, and just look at what they do now. There's this thing that they call, it starts with an A. I'm not even gonna say it on the video because I'll probably get in trouble. Mike and I, we're just in the doghouse all the time. That's pretty much where we live on this media, because we expose the truth and people don't like it. I mean, this really affects our ability to get anywhere, because we cannot sit with a lie. And we know that with the mainstream media, we know what they're doing, and we call them out on it, and we're not going to give them any one of their single pillars for us to stand on. That's not what we came here to do. We didn't come here to win a popularity contest. Absolutely not. We came here to tell the truth and to shine a big fat flashlight on those other beings that are really bringing a lot of harm and a lot of darkness into our world, while they pose themselves as this glorious light. Oh, look at me. I'm so wonderful. I'm so perfect. Oh, but you're not. I mean, look at the religious systems. If they're so big and they're just totally against each other. You can have someone reading the Quran and someone reading the Bible, and in each book, it's going to say the other is going to go to hell. I mean, how can that be? I just don't understand. And people they just don't want to hear it. That's the easy route. And Mike and I have not chosen the easy route because it's not the right route for us.
No, and people will talk about the New Age deception. I think there is a deception going on. There's a massive deception going on right now in what we would call New Age, the Lightworker Starseed. And it has to do with telling Lightworker Starseeds to be quiet, shut up, and don't talk about what's going to happen. And I think that's, again, another infiltration by the dark system that will get to people, and they know what's coming. They know what's coming, maybe even just literally weeks away, as we're heading into a very tumultuous month. And so, you'll get warned, there's things coming. These are tests, and they are tests, and there are things coming. But again, it's like they'll tell you to don't focus on the darkness and basically ignore it away. Where if we kept ignoring what the system is doing and stayed in the system without, trying to point it out for what it is, then we're still going to be following the demonic entities, and they're still going to be in charge, and they're going to be cleaning up any resistance, just like they did to people that were practicing herbology and cultivating their inner daimon, not demon. And they've done this before. This is what they're planning to do again. And they're telling people to just ignore it and don't give energy to it. You don't want to make it grow. Well, if you don't speak up, they're just going to do what they're going to do, and then you won't be here.
It's really important what they have going on here with other human beings, particularly children. They want people to ignore that. And that is a very, very, very tough thing to look at. But it's something that really needs to have a lot of light shed on it. Because if we don't speak up for those who cannot speak, what's going to happen? I mean, I feel that's our job. So many people know and understand what's going on at this point, and it's up to us to not let it continue. We have to say something. We absolutely have to, because that's our future. And they're distorting one being after the next with this abuse that they do. It has to be called out.
So when you look at this and you look closely, and I've studied all this going back to being like 11 years old in 7th and 6th grade. Here you have, different, some of these are some of the older texts. I've had all these. Henrik Cornelius Agrippa's book, the three books of occult philosophy, which was published in 1533. I had to special order that like 40 years ago. And I do remember, going through I've gone through all of these. They're just darn evil. That's all I could tell you. It's just, it is a way to seduce you, to bring you down into their realms, again, through the ego. And you see how old these are. There's different copies coming back, English military engineer and mathematician. I think when you look to it, this says kind of everything. Shem, right? Shem ha-mepharash. Shem ha-mepharash, meaning the explicit name, originally a Tanatic, that's a word I'm not used to there, term for the tetragrammaton. In Kabbalah may refer to the name of God composed of either 4, 12, 22, 42, or 72 letters. Again, and this is all about 72 angels, right? And demons. Well, again, these are not going to be, none of these are going to be truly angelic beings. That's the big reveal. They're not. It's all basically connecting to the Draco-reptilian forces. So I think a lot of people get waylaid into this, and I did, study this in detail. And again, where have I found my peace? It's more in the East when it comes to more of the meditative practices from Taoism, from Buddhism, but carefully, again, not being dogmatic, because you could get dogma in Buddhism too, and in Hinduism too. All the isms could be dogmatic. Everything could be dogmatic in this world. Again, just basically always include that everything is for the greater good. And again, I love that term, loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. So may all beings be free and happy and free to follow their own bliss. And my thoughts, actions, words, and deeds always be contributing to that freedom, and not to stoking the ego and being pulled into the darkness. Because again, the darkness will warn. You better watch out for the darkness out there. But then where are they going to get you looking for help and guidance from? The darkness, of course.
Yes, stay away from the darkness. Look to the darkness. Trust us. We're here to help.
Look, I am your father.
Yes, it's true. It's true. Oh, but this little guy, he is cute. Look to nature. Nothing wrong with looking to nature. Nothing wrong with admiring what nature has to offer and using her as a beautiful, beautiful guiding light.
Absolutely. And, again, guys, may you all be blessed, happy, and free. It could be as simple as, again, Father Sky, Mother Earth, and just leave it at that. It doesn't have to be full of technicality. Just it's all about the intention and the pureness of your heart.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.